What's up, everybody? Happy Friday! Woo! St. Patty's Day. Rock on. Rock on with your bad self. Do I have any leader material? Let's start right there. Do I have leader material? I am in desperate need. I am in desperate need of cleaning stuff out. Aha, found it. So what's up, everybody? I am fishing tomorrow on the world famous Salmon River. Pulaski, New York. Actually, probably more like Altmar. So I am rigging rods for going up there. I fished up there yesterday with my buddy, Captain Todd Sheltra from Strike Zone Charters, who I am working for tomorrow as second boat for his group. And it's funny, I would like something heavier than what I have. I have 10-pound, which I'm okay with. I'm rigging plug rods right at the moment. So this is the business end. So I put a bead above my inline micro swivel. That's a size 10. That might even be a size 12. I'm going to look real quick to see if I have anything. I wouldn't mind 12-pound. And I know I have it somewhere in this catastrophe of a shop. I mean, there's stuff everywhere. I really, really need a full-blown housekeeping before the season gets going, or it's going to be even more of a catastrophe. I can tell you that right now. Give me 5 seconds. Let me look and see. I know I have other leader here somewhere. Over the rainbow at your mom's house. Do 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 do. That makes me upset and angry inside. Upset and angry. Well, I guess we're going to have to roll with it. Who do we got here? Scott Duranda, Jed Paulson, Michelle Love, Merlin, Jim G, Keith Horns. What is up, everybody? Got a bunch of people watching us. If you're watching, say hello. Unless you're driving, then keep both hands on the wheel. So yeah, I thought I know I have other stuff, and I have stuff inside. Not doing me any good right now. There's 20. Fluorocarbon, or 10. I know I've got another spool of 12. And it's funny, it's in my head. You know, like that 10-pound fluoro right there. As cold as that river is up there, even the drop backs in the fast water, they're not smashing it with such force that they're going to break 10-pound. I mean, I'd put that 10-pound trolling open water trolling up against anything maybe outside of a king, but a juvenile I would. We've caught them in a Swigo. So I'm going to set these up. All right, I talked myself into it. I'm going to go with the 10. How's that for logic? So all of my trolling rods, whether I'm plug fishing off my drift boat or whether I am trolling, open water trolling in the boat, and that open water trolling could be dragging bottom bouncers. It could be, pulling crankbaits or plugs on Lake Ontario for browns shortly, or a night of lake for walleyes, or any place else that I would troll for anything, quite honestly. So I'm running really one of two setups, and I do have 2 reels set up with heavy braid that I was using last year for kings that is still fine to use now. It would be overkill. Normally I'm running 15-pound fire line. That's what this is. This is white. I have it in white or smoke. I like the white in the river so people can see the line. Believe it or not, that white really stands out. But I run them all the same. I run a super line down to a barrel swivel, to a leader, to a snap. And depending on what I'm using also depends on what snap I use. And we'll talk about that here for a minute. They don't have to be crazy long leaders. And I'm going to also say everybody has a different theory on this. And you could go as cautious as you would like, as stealthy, as finesse, and that is totally your little stamp on it. You can take it to whatever level. I'm somewhat fanatical about how things are. Like I like my knots to be small and tight. I tie almost exclusively Palomar knots. I have for the better part of 30 years now. Certainly other knots in other situations. If I was going braid to fluoro, I've tried all those new knots, the Alberto and the double uni, and there was another one that I just saw the other day that I really liked, and they all make great connections. And my goal, if I'm tying a knot from braid or fireline, super line to fluorocarbon, I want it to be as tiny as possible, preferably with the fluorocarbon tag end going back this way towards the rod. So when it comes through on the cast, the smaller the knot, if you're going with a knotted connection as opposed to a barrel swivel, is you can run longer leaders if you find the right knot and the tag end of the fluorocarbon knot is going this way. So when you cast it, it'll go through the eyes, going outbound at rapid speed seamlessly. It'll go, you won't even hear it. If you have the wrong knot, like a double uni has the tag facing back this way, so as it's going through the eyes, you hear it, and that's weakening it every single time. And I lost a couple homies last year on the snap where I'd weaken that knot, and that's where it broke because you were casting out. Some people will put like Zap-A-Gap on there to fill that, and so it makes it just a little bit smooth going over. But when I'm just trolling, like all my spinning and casting rods, I use knotted connections. I very rarely anymore use a barrel swivel inline. I used to exclusively use a barrel swivel inline. I don't now. I tend to go more with the knotted connection if I can get the right, if I'm going to tie the right knot. But I'm setting these rods up to plug or troll, and I want to make sure I have the ability in there to have that, to have a bead above protecting the knot. where that barrel swivel is, and that weed will also catch any debris. Certainly later in the season, in the summer, when you have floating vegetation that's been chopped up, that acts as a weed catcher before that weed gets down to your plug and follows your plug. You can have a lot of stuff mucked up on that bead, but down here is still working, and you get bit when it's still working. The minute you get debris down on that lure, it's not working. You're just washing it. So again, now I'm tying on my snap, and I'm going to show you after it's tied. Again, I tie almost exclusively Palomar knots for every knot. And as my dear friend Captain Chris Mopagano always says, fish don't care. I'll put that knot up against anything, any day of the week, any species. Now, that is my snap right there, okay? There are many others like it, but this one is mine. So that is a VMC crankbait snap. And you notice this really, really elongated and wide, big, wide, fat belly on it. So on a crankbait, on a hot shot, it allows that plug way more freedom to move and to really express itself vibrationally. Because, and that's a great way of putting it. You know, you think of somebody like dancing, they're crazy and they're just letting it all, their flag is flying and they're letting it out, you know. There's a lot of ways that you could tame that person down and get them to be more subdued. And sometimes you want your cranks to be a little more subdued, a little tighter wobble, a little different vibrational signature. Typically though, you want to let that lure go to its biggest potential. And then that right there allows that to happen because of that fat belly. That fat belly allows it to really search through its spectrum. A lot of the dual locks come down like this, and I'll show you. I usually have ones laying around here somewhere. The dual lock comes down, and it's rounded at the bottom, but it's much tighter and narrower, and it's acting as a restrictor plate. So this, in my opinion, that VMC, and as far as I know, VMC is the only one that makes that crankbait snap. And if I'm putting a hard bait on, it's on one of those. That's what I found out from using it, and that's what I like the most about it. So, and I didn't go crazy long leader. I did not go. This is probably 30 inches, maybe. Some situations I could see going much longer. In a plug fishing situation, that's not the case. And quite honestly, you know, I don't know. I'm sure there are captains out there that might be trolling with straight fluorocarbon on their reels. None that I know of. Typically, you go through so much line out there, you would, just to be cost, effective, you would go with mono, and maybe you would then put a fluorocarbon leader on. So if you go with that train of thought, whether it's mono or braid, they can see it. And in super clear water like out on Lake Ontario, how much difference does it make? You know, I run braid down to fluoro, and it gets bit all the time. You could probably do it with straight mono. It has been done that way for years. And as far as the snap goes, if you want to accomplish that with tying directly to the lure, this is a hard bait, then you tie the Rapala knot so it leaves the open loop of line. Now, but what I will tell you is I don't think that's nearly as freeing to your lure in its action as that VMC snap is, because even still, even though you wouldn't be tying a tight knot to the front of that bait, that loop would effectively, as you're pulling it, it would pinch down automatically. And so it would automatically keep it tight or tighter. This is a static piece of metal, and it's got a track around that rotation. And in my opinion, that makes a huge difference. All my jerk baits, I do it that way to give them more action. I can't ever think of a time where I say to myself, even in freezing cold water, I will go slower and work the bait less, but I don't want it to have less action. All right, let's see who's here. Man, there's a pile of people here. How far did we get? TG, what's going on? Eric Wisniewski, what's up, buddy? Bill Morey, I made it this time. Tim Graver, I saw you just got your Derby tickets, and I owe you a response text about rods. So I'm on it, and it will happen. George Parson, what's up? How you doing? Watch people on YouTube fishing a Nida Lake and got your notification. Right on. Keep your tip up, George. Carl Capper, how are you? Michelle Love says, hope your house smells like corned beef and cabbage. Happy St. Patrick's Day. So that sounds funny. I hope your house, some people might think of that and go, ugh, I love corned beef and cabbage. We had it 2 nights ago, and I'm assuming maybe we'll probably get it tonight if we go out or we have leftovers. In the month of March is a lot of my favorite things. It used to always be March Madness with college basketball, which I am a diehard, lifelong fan. My birthday's in March. St. Patrick's Day was in March. It was my Gramps' favorite holiday. And I love corned beef and cabbage. I don't know why I don't eat it more often throughout the year. It's like Thanksgiving dinner. I love Thanksgiving dinner. I look forward to it all year long, but I don't think I eat it more than once a year. Even though I love it when we have it. Go figure. So let's see who else here. So yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Whether you're Irish or not, you can be today. Mimi, good afternoon. Reminded me of Pat. Enjoy. Oh, thank you. That's a high compliment. And remember, tomorrow we have the second. I just sent the first gift card out to Cody Morrison from Liverpool. Cody won the first drawing of the ticket numbers last week. I will have the next drawing tomorrow morning at some point. I don't know where we're fishing yet tomorrow or what we're doing, but I'll go live at some point tomorrow and announce tomorrow's winner. Let's see. Oh, but that gift card I sent out was in memory of Pat White. That's what I started to say. Eric Wisniewski said he's having Rubens tonight with homemade baked potato salad. Oh, right on. Courtney K., my beautiful wife, said had it 2 nights ago, then corned beef hash this morning. Yes, I made corned beef hash this morning with a couple eggs over the top of it. Oh, it was awesome. I don't know, it might be Irish ghetto, but I love it. Love it. Don Birdie, what's up, buddy? Bill Morey, happy St. Patrick's Day. TG, those snaps are awesome. He said, I use the same. I know. I love them. I found them by accident. VMC puts out so much stuff now. But I'll tell you, I have had great success with VMC products. I have no problem with their stuff. I like their hooks. I use their spin shot, drop shot hooks exclusively. They're the cat's ass. And it's always in perfect position. I never have to worry about the knot or the line or how it's moved or if the hook is laying offside. It's always always perfect. So I use a lot of VMC products, and so far love all of them, really. Bill Morey says, do these snaps work better with Rapalas? It seems like they often, don't work with a snap. Well, Billy, All right. So Rapala is its own entity nowadays. You know, what we grew up with as kids in the 70s and 80s, like you had 5 styles of Rapala. You know, you had the original, you had the countdown, you had a jointed. Those were the first 3 for the longest time. Now Rapala has so many variations of so many and so many great baits too. That nowadays when you say the word Rapala, that encompasses so many things that there's not one connection that you could get everybody to agree upon across the Rapala spectrum. And the original Rapala, if that's what you're, or like a husky jerk. So again, it depends on what you're doing with it. So if you're just straight casting, retrieving, or trolling, then the original Rapala, the F series, they kind of did this and then mixed in this all at once. You know, they didn't have a lot of action to begin with. And so, quite honestly, I don't think it mattered. I knew a lot of guys that used to tie directly a tight knot to that nose. I knew some people that put a split ring on that nose and tied tightly to that. I've certainly seen, and I'm sure many have been caught on a Rapala with a, you know, swivel, snap and swivel right attached to the nose of it. I just know that if I'm looking to get, now with those baits, maybe you don't want to try and have it do crazy things because you'll overwork it or it'll, I don't know. I don't fish those much anymore. But like my jerk baits, I want that mad kickoff to the side almost to come all the way back around. You know, and you want that thing to really like this. So then that's a little different. A little different situation. So I'm not, there's not going to be any one thing that I could say that everybody would agree upon. Merlin Johnson says, I was thinking of going up there this weekend with my boat. Would it be adequate in that river without being dangerous? I have never been on the upper part of the river, only the lower by Lighthouse. Merlin, you're talking about the Salmon River? And if you are talking about the Salmon River, no, you're not putting your boat on it. You can wade the shoreline and fish the you know, the pools and stuff like that, but you're not putting something in that river that's not a whitewater kayak or a drift boat. Nikolai says, I enjoy your show, dude. Thanks, man. I enjoy you being here and hanging out. E-Tricks, what's up, buddy? Corned beef's on the stove, got bangers for the morning. Oh, right on. CS Smitty 75, Wade Phillips. Kevin Stone. All right, Kevin. I had a friend message me this morning and said, Matt, you're doing it wrong. And I hear that a lot. But I said, how do you mean? And he explained to me, and my apologies, my friend. I looked at your rank abbreviation, and I know it said Air Force, and I don't really know Air Force rank and insignia, and so I'll be the first to admit that I had it wrong. I kept calling you Command Sergeant Major, which is what those letters, you know, that abbreviation meant to me in the Army. But I had somebody today tell me that it was CM is Chief Master Sergeant. So he said it's also an E9, and then I suppose you, just like a Sergeant Major in the Army, then there would be a Command C that would be added to that as well. But nonetheless, I wanted to make sure, listen, E9 is E9 no matter what service you're in, and that's as high as you get for an enlisted man. And that's an incredibly distinguished career. But I'm a vet. I know you got to get it right, and I didn't realize I didn't get it right. So, Chief Master, my apologies. But believe me, it still makes me feel like a big shot that I've got somebody that high ranking who watches me. Keith Horns, I like plug fishing. I know. It felt like I was plug fishing with you yesterday. It was a black cloud over me, except I had Captain Todd Shelter with me. He sat up in the front of the boat like this, just lounging all day. He's like, "We're over here, boy. No, now over here. Now go this way." And he's sitting back in the sun like this. Yeah, he was loving life. And then when I do go, there's one. He turns around and looks at me and goes, "What?" My buddy. Happy Irish Friday. How is the troll biting Oswego, Fred Laurie says. I really haven't heard much. I mean, you've been able to be out there really all winter long because there has been little, if no, ice, even shore ice out there, and most everything has been open to where you could have launched a boat all winter long. Now, I have not heard of many people being out, nor have I heard of many people killing them. I know one of our options tomorrow with our people is to go over and plug fish the bottom of the river, which I love doing. And you never know what you're going to catch in there. I mean, you could catch anything from a walleye, a brown trout, a steelhead, a salmon. I've caught spring salmon in there doing that same thing, plug fishing. Because if you guys watched yesterday's report, we covered a lot of water yesterday, Todd and I did, and fished a lot of it pretty good. And we had one bite, and we saw one fish on gravel. That was it. And we didn't see any other fish moving around in between holes while we were plugging, nothing going around the lures, nothing. The guys up in the very top couple pools are catching fish because that's where those fish are, but the bulk of them are up in the hatchery from what we've been told. And I hear the hatchery in Almar is just chock full, which means we're going to have a great drop back season, and depending on how the weather and the water and everything happens, it's a variable and it's a living thing. Every spring, every fall, when you're talking about runs of fish, the guys out west do it with walleyes. You really, it's a living, breathing thing, and variables change. You can't say on this exact date, this is what's going to happen because you don't know, which is great, but boy, you end up fishing 40 days for 10 that are incredible, but they're incredible. So Mark Webb, sorry I'm late, boss. No, that's no problem. It'll reflect in your progress report. Homemade corned beef hash. Yeah. TG says, I got the tip about the VMC snaps from the boys on Angling Edge. I probably did too. And then I know I started using them back when Gander Mountain was going out of business and everything was dirt cheap. I bought jig heads and terminal tackle. I haven't even opened yet because you were getting it at prices that was below cost. I know a lot of people out there could probably raise their hand that took advantage of that sale. Hey, good for us, bad for them, all that turns into a write-off anyway. Don Terry, how you doing, buddy? You guys are all talking about pierogies. I'm over here talking fishing, and you guys are sitting there talking about, yes, he's right, it's Chief. Let it go. I actually enjoyed it. You're great. Hey, it's all said and done now, Kevin, so you could probably say you were whatever you want. And nobody's gonna hassle you. Certainly not me. You're very welcome. Don Birdie said, what about Gramps' boat on Cayuga? Yeah, it's a possibility. That big girl's just not very towable friendly. Certainly not going down what could be an icy ramp. So we'll see. If this weather shows any promise of real breaking, then I'm just going to dump it back in the water here because, you could probably get out right now. Yesterday coming home on the 81 bridge, you could see there was, you could get almost about even with the mouth of Big Bay. So 500 yards maybe from the 81 bridge. And then you can see open water beyond that, way out by the islands when you're up on the bridge. It's all wedged down in here into the west end and doesn't want to go away. Because as soon as it does, the old boat can go back in the water in a day's notice. Yeah, Merlin. That river is not for floating down without the right vessel. But that doesn't mean, it's a week or two early with the right weather. It is. You can certainly go catch fish places. The downside of the lake right now is that there's no temperature. There's, usually this time of year when you have those spring sun and you had your normal northwest wind, even though it's blowing out of a cold direction, it's pushing all that warm surface water down to the southeastern shore, which is what brings the bait in there, which is what brings the predators in there. And so, these last couple of years, like a couple of years ago, we had that beautiful spring, beautiful warm early spring. It was warm and beautiful and early because it was all south wind. And so all that south wind pushed all that temperature off the southeastern shore and out into the abyss of the lake and scattered the bait, scattered the fish. And the brown trout fishing that spring was lackluster at best. And that's why. Conditions, beautiful. Flat, calm, sunny skies, gorgeous, gorgeous spring temperature and weather. And the fishing suffered because it wasn't the way it should have been. And what it was doing was counterproductive to what you wanted, even though it was hard not to enjoy the beautiful weather. And so a year, and most years used to be, who remembers seeing the whole southeastern shore in Mexico Bay? You couldn't see open water out there. The ice would go so far out, and it would be that way until late March. At least late March. To pull the trigger. Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna do more of that. If you need help getting online, or you're Scott and the great staff he has at Lakeside Outfitters did say that they would help. If you go into the shop, they'll help anybody that needs it with getting your online ticket and printing you off the actual ticket with the QR code on it for you right there in the shop. And you can get to go in and look through the shop and buy some stuff because they have a great shop down there. I love that place. It's very cool looking in every way, shape, or form, and he's got great selection of some really hot baits for all different things. So, but we're going to do more of figuring out ways to get out and about as in the coming weeks, because we got to get moving on ticket sales. Like we have sponsors signing up every day. We have vendors for the festival. Now we need anglers for the Derby. You're absolutely right. And now we need anglers for the Derby. You're absolutely right. And we're going to do whatever it takes to get out to the people the message, hey, let's do the Derby because it's fun and everybody used to do it. And it's going to be awesome this year. You guys are all talking. It's so funny. It's so funny. You guys are all talking about corned beef while we're talking about fishing. That's hilarious. I love it. It's St. Patrick's Day. All right, we've been going for 35 minutes already. Thank you, Mimi. He just said Mimi is the friend of Pat White's that we have another gift card this week, courtesy of them. So whoever wins, at the very least, you're going to fish the Derby for free because you're getting $25. So. All right, Jim Hagler, good afternoon. Yeah. All right, everybody, I'm going to finish up rigging rods, and you guys all have a great, safe, ton of fun. Don't drink too much green beer. Oh, hell, drink it all. You only live once. Have a great Friday evening. Happy St. Patty's Day. Thanks for tuning in. Love you guys. Every single one of you. Keep your tip up. Irish yoga. Keep your tip up.